Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Mikkel here. I'm super stoked because we have Russell Brunson here. He's going to jam out with us. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about a whole lot of stuff, including this awesome trilogy box set that we're matching right here that I got access to. I've been diving into it. It's been a lot of fun. But first of all, Russell, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Excited to hang out with people that understand funnels, that get it. It's the best thing to do all day. So I'm excited.
It's what I do too all day long. That's why I need funnel analytics. I smash them together. That's how creative I am. I literally just took two words and I put them together. But it's funny. I want to tell you a quick story. In secret number 5 of Traffic Secrets, you talk about something pretty interesting. You mentioned a story about how you were in college and you were in class and you learned about traffic that you own. It kind of changed your entire mindset. You were like, man, that means that if I can send out an email, I can. And your heart started beating and things started going pretty nuts, and you started seeing the possibilities. And in 2012, I was in San Francisco, and I had that same thing happen to me. I was trying to figure out this online marketing thing. I was trying to figure out how this all worked. And I stumbled across a video for a program called .com Secrets X. And in that video, you shared how building your own list and being able to send follow-ups and the concept of funnels is how this whole game worked. And that feeling that you had was that for me. When I watched that video, I was like, holy, this is a game changer. This is gonna change my life forever. And I've gone on to build 3 7-figure businesses because of it, because of the concept of funnels. My wife used to joke about the fact that there were 2 voices that she could hear like in her dreams. One was mine and the other was Russell's 100 miles a minute voice speaking, because every time she would fall asleep, it would just be .com, the daily sketches that you would do on YouTube and all that stuff. So that's cool. Like my connection to you. So it's kind of surreal for me to be interviewing you, because it's allowed me to change. It's changed my life. So I appreciate that. I got to say that up front.
That is so cool. You've been paying attention for a long time then, because that was before ClickFunnels. That was before any of these books were written. That was back when we were cutting our teeth, learning and testing and trying all these things out for the first time. So
exactly. And so I'd love to actually chat with you very quickly about that transition. So from 2012, like, where were you at as a marketer, as an entrepreneur, and all the way up until you started ClickFunnels in 2014, right? So those kind of 2 years, what was your business like? What was your mindset like?
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, if you look at the cycles, it's funny because I started I started way before that. In the first couple of years, like, I was learning this business. I started selling my potato gun DVDs, and I was creating courses in like a lot of weird markets. And then it was like I was graduating college and people saw what I was doing and everyone started asking me. So then I started coaching, and I did that for 4 or 5 years and built up a company. And then it kind of collapsed because it was during the last big recession. Like I lay off like 80 people. And then at that point is when I was trying to I wanted to figure out the next thing. I was tired of teaching it, and I wanted to get back in the business of actually doing it. And so during that window, which is when the .com Secrets X came out, .com Secrets Local, we were also doing a whole bunch of, like, we launched 12 different companies that year. We had a supplement for neuropathy. We had a supplement on a course on speed reading. We had one on dating. We had one on couponing. We had one on we had a e-commerce product that helped cold sores. Like, anyway, there was a whole bunch of things, and it was like during that window, as I was getting back into the business, like, I'd been teaching it for a while, and I just got tired of teaching it. And I was like, I want to practice what we preach again and get back into it. And so I kept launching these funnels because I was just like, I was obsessed with the funnel building thing. Like, I think like you are, like, I love, I see your whiteboard, like, that's me. Like, I want to whiteboard it and sit down with my designers and design it. And and so that was what was happening during that windows. We were back in the game, trying things and playing and just like rediscovering. And it was so much fun. And the biggest problem though, as for us was we were a really small team of handful of guys that were doing this. And so every idea we had, like when I went to the neuropathy space, it was like, okay, let's build a neuropathy funnel. And it was like 4 or 5 months for us to build the whole thing and get it done. And it's tough for me because as an entrepreneur, like I get excited about something, I'm like, I want to do it right now.
Yeah.
And then I get the team excited and then they get excited. And then it's like the grind of like building it would take so long. And by the time the funnel was done, like I was so bored. I was like, I don't even know what neuropathy is. Why are we creating a supplement on this? Like I was excited 4 months ago when I found the research and we knew it was gonna be a hot market. And so like but that was like what it was just like this grind of like excitement, energy, excitement, start building funnel. And then we lose excitement. And then I'd be excited about the next thing. And I'm trying to get them to build the next funnel while they're like trying to finish this one. And it's just like let's get stuff done. And it was interesting too, because not all of them were successful. We had, some that were big winners, some of them that were okay, and some that like just didn't do anything at all. But it was a fun experimenting time for me and for us. And it was in the middle of that when Todd, who was the guy at the time on my team that was like coding all these sites custom every single time, when he was like, we should build software that makes this easier. And that's kind of when really we started on the ClickFunnels project.
When you started ClickFunnels, did you originally like think of it as a company? Like, did you build the tool first? Like, okay, let's just play around with this and see, can this work for us? And then let's go. Or was it already like, you know what? I think if we build this properly, we could build something from this.
Definitely. Okay. So it started, so initially I think it started with Todd, who was just like worn out of building so many funnels. And he was like, most of our funnels are similar. It's like they're different. They're similar. We can make some templates and I could like make something where you can go in there and you can edit them. I'm like, oh, that'd be so good. Cause I mean, I don't know how many times in like 2 a.m, I'm like, headline sucks, change it to this headline. He's like,
yeah,
And so I think initially we like that. And then he was like, well, if we're going to do this, we could do something bigger. And like the side story I don't tell people normally, was Todd was supposed to be flying to Boise because we're going to work on this project together. And I remember that morning was the morning that Lead Pages got $5 million in funding. So Todd lives in Atlanta. He's jumping on the plane and he reads this article and he texts it to me. So I wake up a couple hours later, I read it. I was like, Lead Pages? Like, we were just like blown away. Like, this is the most simple thing ever. And by the time Todd landed in Boise, he was like all angry. And he was like, I could build Lead Pages this week. Like, let's clone it. Let's beat it. Let's go after that. And I'm like, okay. And that's when it started like, wait, well, if we're going to do this, what if we like, do you even want Lead Pages? I'm like, no, it's just like a landing page software. Like, what if we made something that we really wanted? And that's when these conversations, okay, well, what if we had a shopping cart involved? What if we could do this? And what if I could do the upsells? And what if we actually, instead of just having a page, you could build a funnel? And like, that's when the dreaming started, right? And we sat in front of a whiteboard for a week, just like dreaming and sketching stuff and like, oh, what if it did this and this? And Todd was just taking notes on everything. And then when the week was done, he flew back home. And then that's when he started coding it and built ClickFunnels.
And 5 years later,
it's like, holy
changing the world. Yeah. Like literally impacting like hundreds of millions of people with the network effect. And like, it's pretty crazy, eh? It's pretty crazy thinking about like that journey. And, you're a marketer. Like I having built Funnelytics in 2 years into kind of a multi 7-figure business, and I've realized that, like what I love to do is this too. I sit down and I whiteboard stuff and I like thinking about product. I like thinking about all that stuff. But one of the biggest transitions for me has been taking off, or at least being able to put on a CEO hat and not just a marketer hat. And like, you now run a company with how many people?
Almost 400 employees.
400 employees, right? Like, and you guys are remote, or at least the vast majority. I think you guys have 2 offices or 2 core offices, but you're all over the world.
Yeah.
How has that transition been for you? Just building funnels, being a marketer, thinking about headlines, hooks, all that stuff, writing, the content and doing the stuff in these books. So like, man, I got 400 employees.
And their families. And then like, yeah. It's interesting because I tell my team this all the time. I'll walk into the funnel building team. I'm like, oh, I'm so jealous. You guys have like the best job. Like I would trade you in a heartbeat because that's still my passion. But it's interesting because as I started watching, like there's different transition growths in a company from like 0 to million, million to 10, 10 to 100 and beyond. But there's also such big changes for you personally as like the leader, the entrepreneur. Like from $0 to $1 million was like me writing a really good pitch to like explain the product and make, like figuring out what we're selling and how we're selling it. That was my role. And then from like $1 million to 10, it was like, okay, how do we start growing this and start scaling it? And like, what are the other funnels we need? And like, what's the content we need to help explain it? And it was a lot more on me. And then from 10 to 100 was like, it was a lot of transitions from like, it's not just me. In fact, I did a podcast on this talking about how the biggest shift as you're growing is like, when you're starting the company, it's like you are the all-star. Like you're Michael Jordan, you're the best player in the team. You come out there and you got to dunk on everyone. And like, you got to be the one who kind of is the ball hog and takes it and runs with it. But to go from like 10 million to 100 million, like it doesn't work where you're the all-star. Like the only way for you as a company to grow is for the entrepreneur to literally retire from the all-star role and become a coach and learn how to coach other all-stars. And that was like, for me, probably the hardest step in the process. And I'm not the best at it still, but it was like, I had to learn how to like put my ego down. Cause like we'd be building a funnel. I'm like, oh, they're doing it wrong. I jump in there and like change the copy and like fix it. And I was like, it's the equivalent of like Michael Jordan being your coach. And in the middle of the game, he gets annoyed, he runs out and grabs the ball and just dunks on you all. Like the rest team's like, dude, we know you can dunk, but like, we're trying to play now, And I kept doing that. I kept interrupting the team, like cutting them off. And I realized that like I was actually holding everybody back. And so I remember having this moment with myself of just like, Russell, you're done. You're retired. You have to step back. And if you really want this message to get to more people, you can't keep being the all-star. You have to retire and become a coach and like learn how to like coach other all-stars, which is a whole different skill set and a whole different thing to learn. And it's still hard. Like I still just, like in fact, with the traffic secrets funnel, like I literally like, everyone's like, so what's the plan? I'm like, this one's mine. I'm writing the copy myself. Like, I'm so sorry. Like I need to get my hands dirty again. So I did for this one, but traditionally
you wrote the whole book. I mean, it's fair. It's fair.
Yeah, I deserve to have the last piece.
Exactly. This is my last round.
I think that's the hardest part. I think most entrepreneurs don't make it there. Most entrepreneurs, like they love the limelight and the all-star so much that they never step away from it. But I think to really grow a company and to be able to have something that lives beyond yourself, that's like the transition you have to learn how to make. And it's a difficult one, but it's also super fulfilling when like it's fun. Like when our team, like the last time we had a 2 Comma Club award, I mean, we get ourselves an award, but like we gave one to all the people on the team that helped with the process, and like seeing them and like them getting pictures and hanging on their wall. And like, that was all like almost more fulfilling for me than anything we've done on our own.
So speaking of tech difficulty or of difficulties, like, and this transition and stuff, like we live in an interesting world right now. Like the last 3 weeks have been pretty interesting. And I know you got 5 kids, so I'm sure that's 5 times interesting, 5 times more interesting than everybody else. But how, you've been remote, your team has been remote for a while, or at least, all over the world. How have you guys transitioned? How have you managed this? Because a lot of people are struggling with what's happening, right? And beyond just like struggling as a business, also struggling as managing their companies.
Yeah.
How do you think? What do you think's happening with the world, first of all?
Yeah, it's definitely, it is weird times, and it's especially weird because like I know for us, like I feel like ClickFunnels is in a good spot. Like businesses that are online are that we're preparing for this are in a good spot. And I'm lucky enough that Todd, our co-founder, is like, in December he was messaging me about the coronavirus, and I was like, dude, you're crazy. Like stop. And he was freaking out. He was like building all these contingency plans and all these things. I'm like, you are nuts. Like I feel so bad now. I made fun of him like crazy. And then at Funnel Hacking Live, like everyone's getting their 2 Comma Club awards, and he made everybody like put on like hand sanitizer before they come on stage to shake our hands, and everyone's like annoyed by him. And I'm like, dude, and like now I'm like, he's so smart. He's always right on everything. But luckily for us, like he helped get a lot of the processes and procedures in place. Like what happens if support can't come into the office, or if, like how do we? And so we were lucky to be prepared in those things. But I think the scariest thing is that like there's so many people around us now who are struggling, so many businesses now who can't go to work. And I think I look at really my role and our company's role in this thing is to give people like hope and give them faith and give them but also permission that if things fail, that doesn't mean that they're a failure.
Yeah.
Like I went live this weekend and just talked about like with the ClickFunnels community as a whole, like help them understand that like a lot of you are going to lose your jobs. A lot of you guys are going to lose your businesses, and that's okay. It's not something to be ashamed of. Like you have to be really good at like looking at the worst case scenario and becoming okay with that. And if it's bankruptcy, understand that bankruptcy is a gift from God. Like it's a gift from the founding fathers that allow us entrepreneurs to fail and reset. and talked about how many people have gone through bankruptcy and how people be okay with that. Cause I think there's so much fear of like, what if things collapse and they freak out? And it's because of that they don't try anything because they don't want to lose anything. And then because of that, they end up losing everything. And it's like, I think our goal is to come in with as much energy and positivity and help people understand, look, it's gonna be scary times, but we got to fight this like head on, and you got to be positive through the process, or else there's no way you're going to succeed. It's going to be tough enough succeeding positive. You know, if you're depressed and frozen and locked up, you're not going to succeed at all. And so I think, you know, for us, it's me, first off, with our own internal team. Like, I'm doing a lot more, you know, we have team meetings every single morning and getting on and like trying to encourage those people, help them understand, and like, you know, reassure people, give them certainty that like ClickFunnels is in a solid, stable place so they can keep working and keep serving. But then it's like the community as a whole, like, keeping people moving forward. And so it's interesting, you know, and I've seen a lot of different leaders, different companies take it different ways. And some people are freezing up and they're freaked out, and their people are freaked out. And it's just like, you're seeing that their whole community is just stopping. And it's like, I feel like right now that's the worst thing that could happen. I still remember when 9/11 happened. Yeah, I was like 21 years old or something like that. And I remember after it happened, the economy froze, and everybody, I can remember on the news, they're like, you need to be buying stuff, like get out there, go shopping, go like refinance your house, like trying to get the economy stimulated, because everyone was scared to do anything. And it's funny because now it's like the messaging is weird. It's like, go home, don't do anything, don't order food, like just, so everyone's like freaking out and holding their money. And it's like, I think the biggest thing that us entrepreneurs can do is to stimulate the economy by creating good offers and putting things out and like, you know, putting positivity out, but then like getting people moving. Because if people aren't buying stuff and transactions aren't happening, then everything freezes. And so, you know, we had a big thing, like the Traffic Secrets book launch happened the day that Trump like told everyone to stay home. And people are like, you gonna stop the book launch? I'm like, no, this is the time, like for myself, for my company, but for everybody, like we need to show like it's not bad to sell during these times. Like people have more money now. Like people, they're not spending it at the movie theater, they're not spending it buying new clothes, they're sitting at home like wondering, you know, and the government just dropped $2 trillion in the economy. Like there's money now. It's just, we've got to be willing to keep marketing and keep being creative and helping move the economy along.
In the book, you talk about near the beginning, and you've talked about this a lot across all the books, but you know, there's two ways to market right now in general, right? People either go away from pain or towards pleasure. I think, and you can touch on this, but I think a lot of people need to realize that works based on who your dream customer is, right? And what they're thinking, right? You're trying to get inside of that conversation in their heads. And right now, a lot of people are sitting here and they're saying, I just want to be secure. I just want to get away from this pain, not necessarily aspiration, right? Not necessarily thinking about like, man, I want to build $1 million business right now. Well, I'll build $1 million business when I know that my cash flow is stable, right? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's you know, you think about with any customer, they're always moving. If they're coming to you, they're moving in a direction. They're, like you said, they're moving towards pleasure or away from pain. And I think over the last 7 to 10 years, for most people, because the economy's been so good, that most people are making decisions moving towards pleasure, which is why the ads have always been, you know, like if you're in business, like how to get a house, how to make rich, how to be millionaire, whatever. Weight loss is like how to get 6-pack abs the girls want. You had to, you know, every business speaks towards pleasure. And now 2.5, 3 weeks ago, everything shifted to now people are in pain. And you're right, the people who are going to survive and thrive during this market are the ones who understand how to shift their marketing messaging. If you look at all the initial ads and stuff we had for Traffic Secrets was like, you know, how we grow a company $100 million, how we get, you know, all, and like now it's like, no. Now the shifting in messaging was understanding like now it's time you have to create like a life preserver to protect yourself, and having customers and traffic is like the life preserver that protects you. It was interesting. I was talking to Dean Graziosi, who's been a close friend for a long time, and I remember in 2008-ish, like when the whole like real estate financial markets crashed last time, you know, he was on TV. He was doing infomercials back then, and there was like 50 people who had like how to get rich on real estate infomercials. Like anyone who ever flipped a house ever was like had an infomercial teach people how to make money on real estate. And then the financial crash happened, and it went from like 50 infomercials down to 1. And only one person survived, and it was Dean's. And Dean ran that infomercial all the way through the recession and on, and his business actually grew during those years. And I asked him, I was like, how did you survive when everyone else got demolished teaching people how to make real estate, which nobody, you know, everyone lost their everything in real estate. And he said, the only big difference was I shifted my message from aspirational to creating as life preserver. And he's like, everyone else was like, how to get rich in real estate, and nobody wanted that message, and their businesses died. And so it was interesting. It's like the product was the same. He didn't change his product. He just changed the marketing around the message, that showing how the product was a tool to get people out of pain. I think the same thing is true right now for all of our businesses. Like, if our messaging right now is very aspirational and how to like make more money, whatever, it's going to struggle. If you shift your messaging to show how your product or service will get people out of pain, those are the businesses that are going to do really well right now. And every product can be positioned that way. We just have to think differently, because we've been in a season for so long of like selling towards pleasure. I think a lot of us have forgotten this. Like, man, right now, like, how do we get people out of pain? How does this product, this service get people out of pain? And by making those shifts, are where you're going to see the biggest changes for people.
Yeah, and until things really settle down and people feel, better and go outside again. And I think, it's going to be interesting once people actually go back outside. It's probably not going to happen for another 4 weeks, which I think
it does, like, people are going to be scared. They're going to go outside, but they're going to be cautious.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to be cautious. And I think it's going to change human psychology to some degree. I want to ask you a few questions about like how you think about school and how you think, like, you got 5 kids. So as an entrepreneur, how do you think about the education system? How do you, because my daughter is only 3.5, and I got another one on the way, and I think about it and I'm like, man, like, they don't teach me this stuff at school. Like, do I really want my daughter to go through that schooling system? Like, how do you think about it?
Well, I think what's interesting is I'm watching like the schools trying to recover from this right now, and I think everyone's been talking about the school system's been broken for so long, and I think this may be like part of the reset that fixes some of the schools. At least I'm hoping so. It'll be interesting to see how the schools pivot and things like that. But right now, like, I'm going to teach, we're getting messages from our kids' teachers who are all freaking out, like, oh, like, here's a packet, have your kids read this. And like, why? Like, what's the, they don't know. They're trying to like keep their job. And so I think it's going to be interesting. I know for me personally growing up, like, I hated school. I wasn't very social. I'm very introverted, but like at the same time, like, I learned skill sets in school, like how to deal with people, how to navigate the weirdness. And I was able to wrestle in school and things like that. So I think there's value in school. I don't think it's in the education though. So my kids are all in public school right now, for better or for worse. But I've told my kids, as like, when you're done with high school, like, especially my oldest, I have twins, but my oldest twin, 9 minutes older, he's very entrepreneurial. I was like, do I have to go to school, Dad? And I was like, you have to go to school until you're making more money than your teacher and you found your spouse. Because I'm like, I was like, at college, like, just so you know, like, all the beautiful ladies are in school. Like, they're there, they're learning. Like you need to go there because that's where you're going to meet your future wife. Like, go there and find her and then try and figure out how to make more money than your teacher. And as soon as you got, here's the girl I'm going to marry, I'm making more than my teacher, then you can bounce and I will support you 100%. But I think it's important to be around the people. I feel like the social aspect
for
is
sure
more important than the rest. So
yeah, that's fair. So I want to transition to talking about this. And by the way, like, first of all, this thing is incredible, man. This thing is on another level. I opened it and I was like, this is the coolest. And actually, like, and I want to talk about the book, but this right here is like, this is the business plan for online entrepreneurs. Like, if you actually do what's in here and fill this in, you're set. It's genius. It's awesome. I love this. But I want to talk about this book. I want to talk about why you wrote it. You told me that, or you told the world that writing these 2 books was like a grueling process, took a long time. And I'm pretty sure after both books, you said, I'm never writing another book again. I'm pretty sure you said that.
Yeah.
Now you got this book. Why?
I can't stop. I got problems.
Why did you write Traffic Secrets?
I think if I talk about all 3 books might help a little bit. Like, it's funny because the first book, like we launched ClickFunnels, and I kind of like to dabbled with a book for a long time. We launched ClickFunnels, and people at first didn't get it. Like there was a small group of people who understood funnels who were like, sweet, and they started using it. But for the most part, nobody got it, and they're like, I don't get it. And so I wrote the .com secrets books. I'm like, I need like a manual for people to understand, like, this is how funnels work and the psychology, so you can start thinking differently. So that became the first book. And then, like you said, I was like, this was horrible. I'll never write a book again. And then about a year into ClickFunnels, people started building funnels. They were understanding the process. But the people that were canceling, I'm like, why are they canceling? And I go look at their funnels, and their funnels like structurally were right, but they sucked at like telling their story and like getting a message and like moving people through the funnel. And so that is like, I need to write the second book to teach people like persuasion and storytelling and things like that. So that's when the second book began. And then again, I was like, I'll never write a book again. And literally it was on day 2 of the Expert Secrets book launch that John Reese, who owned TrafficSecrets.com, for those who don't know marketing history, he was the first guy to do $1 million in a day with a course called Traffic Secrets. This was like 15 years ago. And he emailed me, said, hey, I'm selling my business. You want to buy Traffic Secrets from me? And I was like, it's like the last thing. Like, here's how to build funnels. Here's how to speak inside those funnels. Here's how to fill those funnels with people. And so I said, yes. And then I sat on it for over a year before I started the projects. I'm like, how do you write a book about the most ever, like the topic in the world that changes the most? How do you make it a book that'll be evergreen, that'll last forever? And so for a year, I stressed about it, like, I don't even know how to write this book. And after about a year, I was like, I think I figured out a way to do it. And so that was really wise. I feel like the community as a whole, like this is the piece they're missing is traffic. In fact, it's interesting. I look at the people that won the 2 Comma Club versus 2 Comma Club X, which is 10 million, versus 2 Comma Club C, which is 100 million. All 3 of them have funnels. All 3 of them, the funnels are good. The only difference between the 7, 8, and 9-figure funnels is how many people get dumped into the top of it. And I was like, I think that's the missing piece is people just don't know how to get traffic. And if they do, they're focused on one source, which is Facebook or just Insta. They have one source. And this book helps you to have like a more holistic approach of like, here's how to get a lot of traffic sources from a lot of things that are stable, that aren't going to disappear overnight. And so that's why we started the project. And now that it's done, I'm super proud of it. And I hope all you guys get a copy because it'll help you get tons of traffic into your funnels.
Definitely. Go to TrafficSecrets.com and get a copy of this book. Like I said, Russell, I've been following you since .com Secrets X days. I've been diving into this stuff, and you've changed my life because of all the stuff that you've put out. It's consistent too. Like it's not as though you're sharing tactics. This is stuff that has been working since 2012, and I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing for the world of entrepreneurs, and and this thing right here, honestly, like this is the gold mine, by the way. But you
only get that inside the funnel, so you guys
exactly.
This box set's all secrets. So after you get your book, and then you'll be introduced to an offer where you can get the whole thing.
This whole box set, because this thing's incredible. I appreciate you very much, man. I appreciate you hanging out with us, and man, we'll chat soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you. And thanks to your entire community for having me. And thanks for you, man, for making some amazing software. I know how hard it is to make software, and you guys did such a killer job. So
appreciate it, man. That. Cheers.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.